911, what is your emergency?
Units respond code 3 to a 1050 on the highway. Vehicles are blocking multiple
We're en route
lanes
to the
of travel.
hospital. Patient is currently having
We've got a
cardiac
4-alarm
arrest and has
fire
been
here.
intubated.
Send
Protesters
additional
are
trucks.
outside City Hall and they are not complying with our
Out
orders
on one.
to
Hold the
disperse.
air.
In a rapidly changing world for first responders, where it seems that every day the rules and norms are changing, there is one voice you can count on to give you the latest in emergency news. That is Lifeline. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Lifeline 911, the podcast that deals with emergency first responders, focusing in on communications. So we're here today with our host, Erica.
Hi.
And I'm your co-host, Gary, and we're excited today to talk about the do's and don'ts of being a trainer in a 911 center.
Nice.
So, Erica, you've got quite a bit of experience as a trainer, don't you?
I do. I started training almost, I would say probably about a year and a half into my career, and I didn't really stop. And regardless of the agency, I always gravitated towards training. So I would say if I've been doing this 23 years, I would say I've spent about 21 or so of that in some training capacity or another.
Wow. Okay. So,
Yeah.
like you could be called as an expert witness in court
Probably.
with 20 years of experience. All
yeah,
right.
probably, yeah.
So in all that time, all of the trainers that you've met and seen, they've all been like perfect and stellar, and none of them have had any problems, right?
No, that would not be true at all, Gary.
Oh, okay. That's
No,
unfortunate.
Not even a little bit. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Well, hopefully, if you're listening to this podcast, we can give you some tips on what to do and what not to do if you happen to be a trainer. So,
Nice.
what are some of the do's that you think good trainers possess? Things that they actively do to help their trainees?
I think one of the things that I try to remember is don't make assumptions about the trainee's ability to do the job. Your job is to teach them, to show them how to do what it is you already know how to do. So if you go into it with a mindset, or if you judge a book by its cover, I think that's one of the worst things you can do, is get it in your head already whether or not this person either A, belongs here or can do the job, when they have minimum of, 8 to 10 to 12, depending on whether it's a 911 operator or a dispatcher, for us to build that person. So it's too soon in the beginning to make that assumption. So I think if I had to say the one thing that you should not do is go into it with any assumptions.
Okay, so the first do is don't assume.
Yes.
Okay, I like it.
Or, right. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know if I said it right, but
yeah, that's good. I like it. It's perfect. Okay, so don't assume. Because, you see lots of people that, come into the career that, they might be like 40 years old or something, and
Yeah.
people are like, this guy's never going to make it. He's way too old, this geezer.
Yeah.
And, they might turn out to be really, really good at their job.
Yep.
So, don't assume. Okay. What would you say another do is, that's something proactive or positive that a trainer can do to be more successful in guiding their trainees?
I would say be prepared.
Yeah?
For certain. Be prepared to know your SOPs, definitely, and be that person that actually works on them. Because it may not seem like it's a proactive thing, but it is. Because if you are not following your SOPs, dispatching or call taking according to your agency's SOPs, then you cannot teach to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not teaching to them, all you're doing is now you're just recreating bad habits, or you're teaching bad habits, or you're allowing bad habits to just develop because there's no direction. So I would say a proactive thing is make sure that you are on your game. You have to be.
Yeah, I've often found that the best trainers are those that know the SOPs, policy and procedure, the best.
Yeah.
Because they literally go through it more than anyone else
Yes.
In the entire operations center. They're day in, day out talking about, these are the 7 questions you need to ask every 911 caller, who, what, where. And then for dispatchers, like they know policy and procedure on like how quickly calls need to be dispatched,
Yes.
how notifications on them need to
Yes.
be made. They really have a precise and granular detail on what's going on.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. And I think that helps to make a really strong trainer is to have that down pat, because they're going to get asked every day, well, what do we do here? What do we do here? Why do we do this?
Yes.
So you really have to have very strong fundamentals.
Agreed. And you have definitely have to be willing to learn also.
Yes. Yeah.
You cannot be so locked into your way or the highway. I think you have to be fluid in a way. You have to be willing to change direction also. You know your SOPs and you teach to the SOPs because that's your life as a CTO.
Yeah.
It's all day, every day, especially when you are training, but you also have the opportunity to learn from your pupils.
Yeah. I mean, I remember being a trainer, like I'd learn new commands that they'd have in like the system all the time.
Yeah.
And, that helps make you better.
It does.
Yeah. So the CTOs should, with being flexible like that, really be the best in the department at what they do. And that's not to give them a big head.
No.
But it's just they should be the most honed of all the people.
I agree.
And as you said, like being flexible, like I think it was Bruce Lee that said, you want to be like water in terms of like how to like be in a fight. But, that's just be very malleable and able to kind of bend and move to new situations because you're going to have them all the time.
All the time. And I would say one of the things that I had to learn as a CTO was that, yes, I'm the subject matter expert in the relationship. And that's something else, sidebar, I would say is realize that it's a relationship between you and your trainee, and you have a goal, and the goal is to get them across the finish line to where they are a working, contributing member of your team. And so you need the perspective of this is a relationship, and you are one half of that professional relationship, and they are the other, and you can't get there without each other. So I think what I'm really trying to say is make sure that you know the importance of your role as it relates to this person's potential career and also, even their livelihood. I don't have a big head, but also realize how important your role is. It's critical. It's crucial because the agency does not grow without the CTO. And for anybody that might be listening doesn't know what we mean by those letters, in our agency, it's certified training, either officer or operator. Those are interchangeable. But it's the person that is the learned friend in the relationship. Yeah,
they kind of, walk them through. Like they often say, like trainers wear many hats. You're sometimes a trainer. Sometimes you're a counselor.
True.
Sometimes you're a mentor. Sometimes you're a cheerleader.
Yep.
Sometimes you've got to be a harsh critic.
Yes.
But you have to wear all these hats in order to shape these newly hired call takers and dispatchers and make them the best that they can be at their job.
Agreed.
So learning and growing is another excellent do.
Yes.
Okay. Any other like key points that like you really see like good trainers? I'll throw one out there. I think that good trainers are very organized and creative.
True.
Because different agencies require different amounts of paperwork, but the one we work at involves a daily training report every day. So that is where you can not only evaluate the performance in terms of how good the trainee is doing on a as objective as possible scale, but also to make any extra notes on things that they've learned, challenges that they came up to. And it gives you a chance as the trainer to have a real formal kind of sit down at the end of the day with the trainee and kind of review what happened and what you learned.
Agreed. And you would need to be definitely organized, because I know early in my training career, I would try to keep the day's events in my head.
Nope, no way to do that.
Bad idea, bad. And I learned the hard way that you have to take notes over the course of the day and then maybe whittle it down to what absolutely must go on the DTR or what and the daily training report, what absolutely needs to be on there. But I also had to learn to the other side. I got to the place where I wrote down everything.
And that's too much.
And that's too much. And I attempted to write a novel and describe every hour of the day in this document that really is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Yeah.
And I had to learn balance in what to put on that DTR. There should be some good. There should be some areas of improvement. I had to learn that there are areas of improvement, not
I call it the bad.
Bad. Gary.
The terrible. The things that'll get you fired. You're fired.
Wow. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah. That's why I don't train people anymore.
But you know what he's not saying is he was the training coordinator, which is a massive job.
Yes, it is.
That is the person that takes sometimes anywhere from 5 to 15.
I think we had 23 was the max that we had when I was doing it. Yeah.
Can you imagine 23 different people, varying shifts, and in this case, some call takers, some dispatchers, and some in varying areas or stages of training. Some are brand spanking new, just some of them in the classroom, some are just out of the classroom, some are almost done, some are halfway there, and some are doing really well and some aren't. And so you're juggling all of that. So don't let him, no.
And then you had the 41 trainers as well, who each
I
needed
forgot about them. Yep.
their own special work.
So that's like 60-something people.
It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
So being organized is definitely. I would say another one is be creative.
Yes.
I remember, since you brought it up, that I was the coordinator. A lot of the best ideas and documents that I got, like training material, were from the trainers. Like they would send it to me, and I would review it to make sure that it actually met policy, because some
things did not.
That's important to do. And then just to just how the creative ideas that they had in terms of communicating the information, because a lot of people know a lot of things,
right?
So I'm not really much into we're gonna have a happy fun time, but some people are really into that, they're real cheerleaders.
Yes.
And they're the way that they put happy little stickers or whatever on their papers, I would never do. Mine's Times New Roman 12-point font all the time.
Wow.
But some people are, very creative, and that's really good to have as a trainer, I think.
Yeah, and they have some of the best trainers are people that are not afraid to think outside the box, and when it comes to helping their trainee who might be struggling, they will come up with games. They will create whole flashcard games, and they will create word find puzzles. They will create their own types of quizzes. And I mean, they are all in. And I think that's another thing that makes an amazing trainer, CTO, someone that is fully committed to the success of the training program, not just the person who they're training, because it's a big picture thing too, right? So it's not just, you're not just there to train that person. You are there to help build a call taker or dispatcher who is an asset to the agency. And as a result of them being an asset to the agency, they're there to help protect the field responders. And at the same time, the 911 operator is there to help the person that is calling in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have, I don't know if global is really the right word, but it's just
Like a comprehensive view.
yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Because like you as a trainer, like need to realize you're not just training one person. There's a great line in the movie Men in Black. I'm a big cinephile. I love movies. At the end of the first Men in Black movie, which is the only one you should watch, by the way.
Agreed.
Will Smith turns to Tommy Lee Jones and he's like, I thought we were partners. And Tommy Lee Jones is like, I wasn't training my partner. I was training my replacement.
Absolutely.
And like, that's I think a key mentality to have because not only are these guys and gals that you're training going to be the ones that make sure you get your vacation requests approved.
Yep.
But they are also, when you leave this career, going to be the ones that carry on the torch.
Absolutely.
And you want that to burn brightly to
Agreed.
continue that metaphor.
I agree, because the truth is we're all going to die or retire or both.
Yep.
And someone has to keep watch when it's over
Yes.
for us. So absolutely.
Yeah. And that's, I think, very important. Another do that I'll say is do get sleep. Like, and what I mean by that is, as a trainer, you need to really be invested in what you're doing.
Yep.
And the second hardest job I ever had was training, like getting trained as a dispatcher. But the hardest job I ever did was training others.
Yes.
Because it's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally exhausting.
It is hard.
Because,
it's double duty on every level.
Absolutely.
Because not only are you doing the job, you're responsible for everything that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say a sidebar on that. Do remember that you are responsible as the CTO for everything that happens, whether it be the phone or the radio, remembering that your trainee has one job, and that is to learn. And to that, you have to be absolutely prepared. So you need to have gotten enough rest. Not only does a trainee need to get enough rest, but you need to get enough so that you're alert and aware of what's going on. I know as CTOs, a lot of times, we've been doing this long enough, so much of it is second nature to us.
Yeah.
But that's second nature for you and you alone when you're the only one doing it. Now you have to maintain, watch over someone and teach at the same time. Mm-hmm. That's double duty might not actually be the word. It might be triple.
Yeah, like I don't have any kids that I know of, and I can't even imagine how hard it is, like as a parent, to like raise your kids and teach, because it's basically being a CTO every day of your life until you die.
Until you die, yeah.
So kudos to anybody out there raising kids. Good job.
Ooh, I have fur babies, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, and fish babies.
True, that's true. I don't have any fish right now, but I'm still working on that.
Okay,
that's that's for another episode. Snowpocalypse we'll talk about.
Yes,
that's to come.
So you are responsible for your training because you should be their safety net.
Yep. And
different CTOs, like if as a trainer, you need to understand how much skill you have in order to, because you don't want to give your trainees so much rope that you can't bring them back.
Agreed.
And especially if you're just starting out training, that may be a pretty tight leash you have on them, and that's okay.
It really is.
But like, because some dispatchers can just remember like 15, the last 15 things were asked on the air. That was never me.
No.
And
I was able to I could do quite a bit, but I never wanted to let it get to the place. I used to tell the trainee, I will let you do it until I can no longer keep up with it. And I don't want to get to the place where if I'm starting to actually be confused about what is happening, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Never want to get to the place. You don't ever want to let it go so far that you can't just pull them back, but you can't fix what's gone wrong, because I will never forget one of the first times I realized I was halfway decent at it is the trainees just trugging along and something goes wrong and I'm like, wait, something's wrong. Something's not right. Wait a minute. And I'm like, stop. Okay, we have to back up. And I was able to back up to the place where I realized that the wheels were starting to come off and I was able to fix it. But you don't ever want to relax to the point where you can't figure out where the exact moment where the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
Because then you can't fix it.
And your trainee will appreciate you and grow trust in you if they can see that if they know they can rely on you to fix whatever they screwed up, because they're going to screw things up.
They're
learning.
to. They're learning.
Yeah. As Erica, you say, they're just babies.
They're just baby dispatchers and baby call takers.
Yep.
No matter, regardless, whether it's fire or EMS or police, it doesn't matter. They're all just infants. And you wouldn't allow an infant to walk around with no safety net, with nothing, no precautions.
No covers over the electrical outlets.
You wouldn't do that, right? You
would
would
leave your whiskey out.
You would not. You would make sure that there are safeguards and their protection is at the forefront of your thinking, not just theirs, but there's that comprehensive view again. It's not just about the trainee, it's about the agency as a whole, and they are part of that since they are here.
Yeah, hopefully, and they'll stay for a long time.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the do's. Are there anything for the don'ts? Like, are there things that a good CTO should strive to never do in order to make sure that their trainees are successful?
I would say don't do the mean girl, mean guy thing. Don't.
Does that happen a lot in call centers?
It absolutely does.
Really?
Yes. We are the only, to my knowledge, the only industry that I have ever been a part of where we actually eat our young.
Physical cannibalism.
It is insane. We literally attempt to eat our young, and that, I'm going to get very raw here for just a second. That takes the form of if you don't get along with your trainee as well as you might like, you can find yourself not rooting for them, but that can actually take the form of you are actively sabotaging because you're not doing your best, because you are now governed by the way you feel.
Yeah.
So don't let your emotions dictate how you train.
Right. Don't let your emotions dictate. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Because there's just, I mean, it could be a personality conflict, or it could be getting frustrated with their performance, but you've got to always be there supporting them to the very end, even if there's no chance they can make it.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah, and that's hard to do because especially after you've been doing this a long time, you have kind of, I'll say, you can kind of look at somebody and be like, they're probably not going to make it, or they probably are, but they will definitely not make it if you don't give them everything you've got.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to do that when you as the trainer are feeling like there's no chance here.
Yeah.
So you've got to be Sisyphus and keep pushing that boulder up that hill.
Absolutely. Well, and I think I had that. And I think if you've been doing this as long as my 20 plus and you're 15 and some change, if you've been doing it this long, it's pretty rare that you're wrong, that someone is not likely to make it. I don't know how many times I've been wrong, but it's not very many.
Yeah.
But what I enjoy the most is being wrong. That's where the CTO comes in. You might be right that they won't make it, but your job is to help prove yourself wrong.
Right. And also, you will have a much better day and time with your trainee if you're actively engaged with them and trying to help them succeed, rather than just being like, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Well, of course not, because that's why if he or she knows what they're doing and they just got here, why am I paying you?
Exactly. Yeah. No, yeah, I get, yeah. Why train them at all?
Yeah.
And it's a very specific and difficult skill set to learn.
Yes.
You know, and it takes time, and
It does.
you've got to be positive.
Yes.
Like being the cheerleader portion of the CTO, that hat is one of the most important ones to wear.
Agreed.
Because they're not going to really get that from anywhere else.
No, you're going to be it. I mean, they have a cheering section most likely at home.
Possibly.
Right? They're, most likely, because you are, when they apply, they're not just applying.
Mm-hmm.
Their family is applying also, because everything about this environment, it will affect your family.
Absolutely.
Your ability to be there on those nights, weekends, holidays,
Mandatory.
and those special occasions, those special events, and different things that you would want to be there. They are as impacted by your absence as you will be, because you are not there.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they have the cheering section at home, and when they apply, their families apply as well. But you are going to be in the center. You are going to be the loudest, or you should be the loudest, most positive cheering section there is.
Right.
Because in this environment, sad to say, but it is true, people will attempt to pick off your trainee, and you should be the person that stands in front of the train.
Mm-hmm.
You should be the person that says, I am not going to allow the negative or the naysayers to get the best of it, because I promise you, they are going to beat the crap out of themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is hard. It's hard to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And they will have ups and downs, and quite a few downs, and probably more downs, and they will have ups until they get towards the end. And they simply need you to be there.
Yeah.
To advocate for them and remind them why they started when they're ready to quit.
Mm-hmm. Now, to kind of dovetail on that, I will say that being a cheerleader for them like that doesn't mean not giving them accurate feedback.
Agreed.
You don't want to
Absolutely.
just blow smoke up the behind.
Right.
But like, if you've worked to develop that trust and that relationship with them, you can tell them, hey, we need to do better on A, B, and C.
Yes.
You can do that through D, E, and F.
Right.
And I'm going to show you how to do that.
Yeah.
Because giving them false expectations of how they're doing
Does not
is
help.
terrible for the
No,
trainee.
That's not helpful either. No.
Yeah. Okay. So any other don'ts you can think of?
Oh, the don'ts are easy to come up with. For me, the don'ts aren't so easy to come up with. I think it's easier for me to say, do these things, because if you are doing those right things, then it's much harder to do the things that you should not be doing.
Yeah. And
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you can also say here's another one, like, don't model bad behavior, or do model good behavior. Depending on how you
That's
want
an
to take
easy
that.
one, because
Yeah.
if you realize that as the CTO, I'm going to go back around to realizing the importance of your role. You are what makes the center move forward. Without you, it does not happen. We can hire a bunch of people. We can hire a whole lot of people, but who's going to teach them? Who's going to train them?
Mm-hmm.
So when you realize the importance of your role, and that you are in a position of trust and
Absolutely.
in a position of leadership, you know what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You've lived long enough, and you've been here long enough that you're entrusted to teach someone else. So I don't have to tell you the things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
You know what those things are.
I will say, just kind of my final thought on it, you can kind of tell if you're doing a good job or a bad job as a CTO if after you finish training them, they come back to you for questions.
Absolutely.
If they're not
Yes.
coming to you for questions, then you've not done a good job of establishing a
agree.
good relationship with them.
And even if it was not the kumbaya type of relationship, because
Yeah.
I've had so many where I have been honest and sometimes hard,
Yeah.
pushing where it's required and where it's necessary. And they didn't love me so much towards the end, but when it was over, they come back and they say thank you.
Yes, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Many people have said you've done a great job training them over the years.
Yeah.
And
you.
it's true. Like, you have to be open and honest with them, and they need to feel your presence and your desire to see them succeed at this, because there's going to be a lot especially as they go through and start discovering all the stuff they don't know how to do.
Yeah.
And then you pile on top of that the weight of like, hey, if you screw up, somebody will die.
That's so true.
You know, it's a lot to take in. It's not just
is.
like working at like, you know, Spectrum and then, oh, we got a cable outage, you know. It's
Okay.
like,
And don't get me wrong. I love cable and I love my internet, but there's life and death, and then there's not.
Yeah. So
there's that.
yes. And you as the CTO, bridge that gap between life and death.
You do.
Not to put too fine a point on it. Well, thank you so much for listening. That'll be our show for this week.
Yes, thank you.
We really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to send them in. We would love to answer them. And for us, that'll be everything for me. I'm Gary.
I'm Erica.
And thank you for listening to Lifeline 911.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911 podcast. If you have any questions about the topics we discussed today, or if there's something specific you'd like us to cover in a future episode, send us your questions at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. Stay safe out there. Until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.